Just talk about the main reason, why you came over here from UA. What was the?
Well, it was tough. At the end of the day, like I said, it was one of the toughest decisions I think I had to make because it was against everything that I'd sort of taught those kids, and they bought in with me.
Right.
I wasn't looking to move. The opportunity presented itself to where I think I at least enticed me a little bit, but still I wasn't convinced on leaving, and really prayed hard and long about it, and wasn't sure if another opportunity. I wasn't expecting it to come that soon, and it came, and wasn't really sure there would be another opportunity sort of this close, and I felt like this is where the Lord was pushing me at the end of the day, and nervous and anxious at the same time, but also scared a little bit because I don't know. I know to a certain extent what I'm walking into, but then again, it's just trusting by faith that I'm going to do the right job and do the best I can.
I know you're obviously taking over a program that struggled last year, and these kids, this is their third head coach in 3 years. How do you get the confidence back in them?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just being honest and upfront. It's the same approach I took with the guys at UA. It's just, hey, this is who I am, and do I know everything? I'm not going to claim that, but I do know a lot of football. I think the biggest thing is gaining trust with kids. The more they trust you, the more that I'm going to trust them in return. And building that relationship builds confidence. And then that relates to the football field. And then ultimately, hopefully, into wins. But I understand the situation of being turbulent. Unless I'm not doing my job, I'll plan on being here for a while.
Right.
So.
We had a 10-year career in the NFL. What's the biggest thing you've taken from there and carried over to coaching?
Well, every coach I've played for, from basically even my dad coaching me in Pop Warner, from middle school up through the professional ranks, has stamped something on me. How little or how big it is, only I know that.
Right.
But those things sort of the driving force for me to coach, and I look at it as now it's my opportunity to share the knowledge of the game and sort of what I've learned along the way with these kids. But I think every one of those coaches have ingrained something in me to bring to the forefront as a coach.
Right. I know Marvin Ridge had a lot of NFL players involved in the program the last couple of years. Is that something you're planning on? I know you talked about the assistants. You didn't really want to say.
Yeah, there'll be a couple.
Josh McCown's been here. Have you
I've talked to Josh. I would love to have him here, but he's going to be playing.
Right. Right.
He's played himself into a fairly, it'll be a nice contract coming up. But there was. I had 2 guys on my staff last year. One's definitely coming, and the other, Ted Washington, I haven't really talked to him much about it, but he lives in the Marvin area as well. His kids go here. So
is the other one Damian Lewis?
Yeah, Damian Lewis.
All right.
So those 2 for sure.
Okay.
But a lot of the other staff I've talked to some guys, but nothing's set in place.
Gotcha.
So.
You inherit a roster right now. I think they're losing 17 seniors. I don't remember the amount of seniors you lost at Union Academy, but they lost a lot of skilled players last year. How do you feel that Union Academy position really equipped you for this position where you're coming into now?
Well, Union Academy, I think we lost 13 or 15 out of 22 guys. So, in a way, it's a rebuilding process. I had that by default, but I don't. You deal with the cards you're dealt, and here I guess it's the same situation. I never really looked at it that way. I'm just looking at the faster I get to know these kids, integrate what I'm trying to do with these kids, and the faster they get to know me and trust me, the better off we are. How it goes. There's a lot of things that go into how football season unfolds, but at the end of the day, the one thing that I'm trying to do that they need to know is I have their best interests at hand, and I'm willing to put whatever on the line to help them succeed.
Was there any point last year where you had the opportunity to check any games outside of Have you looked at game film of any of these guys, or checked any Saturday middle school games or JV games during the year?
Very little. I've watched a little huddle film on these guys, but very basic. Basically it's just going through a few games, just looking at it, some highlights, not looking at it in depth, just to see sort of what kind of talent that I was going to be working with. And the good thing is I think a lot of these guys, and they played a lot of freshmen and sophomores last year, so they got some experience early, which in my maybe not for the past head coach was not a positive, but for me, I think it's a positive because they got experience.
With your experience as a professional player, dealing with a lot of pressure, the highest pressure you can in professional football, coming to an environment here in Union County, I would say Marvin Ridge probably has the most vocal and active fan base, athletic base in the county in terms of being very tough.
Yeah.
How do you feel that experience will help you in dealing with this transition period and coming into your first year?
Well, I hope it helps. You never really know until you jump full-fledged into it. The one thing that I will tell every parent and that I've, will come in contact is I'm honest and upfront. And what I'm going to tell you is not always what you want to hear, but it's going to be the truth. And, I think as long as I'm not going to bow down to my morals and ethics of being honest and upfront, because I think that's how you have to interact with people. Not only players, not only administration here, but the parents as well. I don't want to sort of compare it to this, but also, I did play under a lot of pressure. And also pressure is looked at two ways. You apply pressure or you feel it. And, for the most part, I think through my career, I've been that guy that has applied it, not felt it. But in other regards, it's like dealing with the media, too, at the professional level. You have to be careful of where you step, but always honest and upfront, because if not, they're seeing right through it. And so that would probably be the approach I take with parents. This is where I'm at, but I'm not also going to, step across that line. At the end of the day, I'm hired here to do a job, and that job is hopefully in the best interest of their kids. I know for me that's going to be my focal point. Now, how they see it, that's up to them.
The amount of losing that the team did last year, the type of losses that they had, a lot of seniors dealt with that and are going to be moving on. But how much of a role of just being that team counselor to really get into these kids' heads, to have them buy into a system and have you understand what they've gone through, because you have dealt with things on the professional level, to be able to translate that to these kids.
Well, it's important because I've been on some good teams and I've been on some horrible teams. But, even with some of the bad teams, it wasn't really little things lose you football games. And I think that relates all the way down to Pop Warner, just, from basic X's and O's to fundamentals and techniques. And sort of what I'll get to learn about these kids is their story, exactly what you're telling me, what they've experienced, how they've dealt with it. And then I can relate to them sort of how I've dealt with things in the past. Now, that's going to be different as a coach as it was a player, but I can relate to them because I have played, and I've played at every level. Some of them might get it, some of them might not. But the thing always you want is implant that seed in them. That way when the switch does come on, that bulb lights up. And, am I going to have every answer they need? No. But hopefully I have a lot at the end of the day.
Looking back on your first year coaching at Union Academy, I don't know what your goals were internally looking out for your first year, but I think a lot of people looking at that team, the players that they lost and what you were inheriting, I think a lot of people were amazed that you turned that team, and give a lot of credit to some of those skilled players on that both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. But 6-6 was an incredible record for that team first year coaching. How do you evaluate your first year?
I think we did good. Am I satisfied? No. I mean, I think there were some games that we should have won that we didn't for whatever reason. One in particular was East Montgomery. I think we were a better football team than them. We let them come in and beat us by one. Some of the other games we were in, but sort of outmatched. But at the end of the day, we progressed. Now, towards the end of the season, we faltered a little bit before the playoffs, and I think because we had some injuries, and we were not a large school, so we didn't have a lot of depth. But the thing is the kids bought into what I was teaching. They bought into the staff I had and believed in each other. And that was what was important to me, other than wins and losses. That was what's important. That's what made it so hard to leave. You know, the guys that they have coming back next year, unfortunately I'm not there now, but I think would have been a better football team than what we had this year. And so whoever takes over that program, you know, I think they will be delighted with the group of kids that they have.
A Marvin Ridge freshman, sophomore coming into the football program, playing under you this first year, what can they expect from you as a coach? What are they going to get from you as a coach?
Well, I think they'll get my honesty first and foremost. I think they'll get my respect once they gain my respect, and in turn I have to gain theirs. But there will be a very high standard. The intensity level will probably be more than at least, you know, what maybe they've been used to in the past. You know, I've constantly pushed myself, that in turn I'm pushing the kids to do the best they can. Regardless, I know it all comes down to teaching fundamentals and techniques right off the bat. Now, sort of where those fundamentals and techniques or how fast we're going to evolve past that. But, you know, the sooner I know these kids and the sooner they buy in, the faster we're going to move. But it is going to be very intense, and I'm going to expect a lot.